Hi guys, I'm Trudi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about collaboration and how the rehab team collaborates with the other departments in order to ensure that the patient gets the best care possible. Also guys, please remember to subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. I post a new video every Sunday. Now let's get into the video. So what is collaboration? In a nutshell, collaboration is a process where all the departments work together in order to ensure that the client or the patient gets the best care possible. And in healthcare, for instance, in a skilled nursing facility where I work, collaboration is very, very important. Each and every department must collaborate in order to ensure that the patient gets the best care possible. Now let's talk about the administrator. Now, the administrator is basically the big boss. They're in charge of hiring and firing. They collaborate with all the departments. For instance, in the morning, they'll go to a morning report and they'll discuss whatever they discuss. Your department head might come back and they might brief you on what was discussed. Of course, they're not going to tell you everything or exactly everything that was discussed, but they pretty much give you an overview of what we need to be focusing on, etc. The administrator must ensure that a facility is operating within the confines of the law. So let's say in a skilled nursing facility where I work, there's always state inspection, and the administrator must ensure that the facility is up to date with all the different requirements and standards. And like I said, the administrator is pretty much the big boss, so everything has to be run by the administrator. And another high-ranking member in the nursing home is the director of nursing, or the DNS. Now the DNS has a lot on his or her shoulder, especially when there's a state inspection or a state inspection is due, because the director of nursing must ensure that the facility is following stuff like infection control, proper documentation for nursing. Now, while the administrator is the one who pretty much is in charge of everything, the director of nursing is kind of expected to know more when it comes to infection control, because they were trained as a nurse, whereas the administrator don't really have that medical background. There might be some administrator who were at some point a nurse, but for the most part they're not trained in nurse, whereas the director of nursing, or the DNS, is a trained nurse. In most facility, the DNS is the most, or let me say, in a lot of facilities, DNS is a very high turnover position. You rarely find a DNS who has been working in the same facility for like 10 years. They change very often, or maybe I should say they get fired very often, because if the facility fails something on the state inspection, it's going to trickle down to two people for the most part, the department heads. So if it's something, let's say, that has to do with infection control, it's usually the DNS. Or if it's something major with the facility, it's usually the administrator. So it kind of sucks in a way, because it might be something that the CNA failed to do, or the LPN failed to do, or the RN failed to do, and it trickled down to the DNS. It pays to be nice to your staff, because at the end of the day, when your staff like you, they're less likely to cut corners, or they're less likely to do something that will negatively affect you. Because let's face it, even though a CNA might do something, CNAs don't really get fired easily. It must be something really out of the way, because they're protected by the union. So the DNS don't really have that protection. Yes, they get paid way higher, but I'm just trying to say that they should try to collaborate really well with their staff. They should try to have an atmosphere where the CNA or the LPN feel very comfortable coming to them about something. They don't want to feel scared, because that's how things slip through the crack. Now let's talk about social worker. Now the social worker, they deal with a lot with the insurance company. A lot of times, for instance, in rehab, they're the one who for the most part will determine when the patient gets cut. Well, I shouldn't say determine when the patient gets cut. The insurance does that. But sometimes it can be frustrating when the social workers be like, oh, XYZ has to go home by next week because of insurance cut. Then at that time, you might have to order equipment. And then sometimes they'll be rushing, oh, did you order this? Did you order that? You just told us like 10 minutes ago that the patient is going home. And then sometimes it can get complicated because the patient hasn't yet met the goal. So it kind of messed up, what you initially planned. For instance, let's say your goal was for the patient to transfer with standby assist, but the patient is not there yet. The patient is still at min assist. At that point, they might need a transfer tub bench for the min assist, whereas the goal was to get the patient to standby where they could use, let's say, a shower chair. The collaboration with rehab and social work is very important. It's great when they give us, let's say the discharge date is going to be a month from now, so it can help us to better plan. But when they just sporadically come and tell us, oh, the patient is going home next week, it kind of, throw off everything. Because the moment the patient comes in, it would be nice to say that you know exactly when the patient is going to go home. But with insurance and everything, that's not really how it goes in a skilled nursing facility. I would say social work can, do a little better with kind of telling rehab ahead of time when exactly the patient is going home earlier, so we can better plan. And let's talk about, dietary or the dietitian. Now, in terms of rehab, they work more closely with a speech therapist. And as you know, I'm not a speech therapist. They work more closely to ensure that the patient has the right, food consistency, if the patient is on puree or if the patient is on regular diet. So rehab and dietitian, they still do like close collaboration. And also, this is just a tip for anyone. A lot of times there are patients, they might be on a thickened diet. So in terms of liquid or water, they shouldn't have, regular water. When you go on the unit, those are the first patients who usually ask you, can you get me some water? I know you might be trying to do the right thing if you're on field work or, if you're a new therapist, but always check with the nurse, the speech therapist, or the dietitian, because you might not be where you can just log onto a computer. You might just have to ask somebody. But to be on the safe side, always check, because to be quite frank, in rehab or in skilled nursing facility or in healthcare overall, everybody's really trying to just cover their rear end. Don't be that one who you did something that you shouldn't have done, and as a result, you lose your job. So always double check. Now let's talk about nursing team. Now I already talked about the DNS, but let's talk about, the other nursing staff. That's the CNA, that's the RN, that's the LPN. No, they're the ones you're going to see, especially if you're working in a skilled nursing facility. They're the one you're going to see the most on the floor. So they'll give you a little heads up about stuff. And don't try to be too cocky or too high. Listen, the CNAs can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Not even just the CNAs, but the nursing staff. They can be your best friend or your worst. So I know you might, be a new grad from college. Trust me, you don't want to make enemies in the nursing home. So try to be nice to the nursing staff. When you start working in a skilled nursing facility or whichever area in healthcare, you're going to quickly realize that some of the things you were taught in college is kind of different from the real world. I'm not saying it's like there's like a major difference, but it's just that, everywhere have their own culture. So you're not trying to go there to trying to change anything. Of course, you're going to try to do, the best job you can and don't really get sucked into, if it's a really toxic culture. But for the most part, just do your best and follow the protocol of the facility. You have to try to really collaborate well with the nursing staff, because a lot of times you might see a patient yesterday, and I've seen this sometimes, where the patient might have been, doing well, and there's, maybe a change in status at night. You might feel like the patient, should get up out of bed, blah, blah, blah. And the nursing staff is telling you, I don't think she's feeling good. Maybe you should do some bedside stuff. Maybe you can, check back a little later, but don't be, telling them, oh, they should get the patient out of bed. Because remember, they see the patient a lot longer than you. And now with PDPM, you're only seeing the patient for like 30 minutes. So don't get too, cocky. Trust me, as I said earlier, your life as a therapist, if you work in a skilled nursing facility, will go so much better if you collaborate well with a nursing team. Now, for some final thoughts. Does everybody collaborate in a nursing home or in a skilled nursing facility or in healthcare overall? While I would like to say, oh yes, everybody collaborated, excellent, exceptionally, in a skilled nursing facility. That's not really the truth, because it's really every department for each other. So the nursing team is not trying to throw the nurses under the bus. If they can blame, let's say, rehab or the social work team or the dietary team for something that happened, they're going to do that. And the same way too, everybody is, including rehab, everybody is just trying to not put the blame on their department. Because at the end of the day, if something bad happened, let's say a patient fell and the right order was not in the computer, everybody's going to really try to see who they can point the finger at. Now, on a more micro level, let's say within each department, if it's something that, let's say they realize that let's say they realize that nursing is really at fault, or let's say rehab is at fault. No, it all boils down to individual people. So this is what I'm saying. At first, each department will try to protect their department. But if that department realizes that they're at fault, no, it's everybody for themselves. So this person's going to be like, well, I'm not at fault. Because at the end of the day, it's all about self-preservation. So collaboration is good. And I feel like, yes, we collaborate, but there's so much that can be improved upon in terms of collaboration. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to give the patient the best care possible. So if you're watching this video right now and you work in healthcare, I would say, we all can do something about this. And I would say something too, like a lot of times too, the administrators and the DNS, there's a lot they can do also, because sometimes they might be trying to, save money for the facility, cut back on staff, but then somebody fall. And then that money that they're trying to save, they end up after paying out in lawsuits because the families are not playing these days. They will sue for the slight thing. Especially in a skilled nursing facility, they love to sue. So I think the administrators and, the DNS, they should create an atmosphere where the staffs like you. I know a lot of people might be like, oh, I'm not here for staff to like me. But guess what? If the staff like you, they're more likely to be cooperative and, do the best job. So I think the DNS administrators, all the top ranking department heads, they should really, try to be more likable, try to, create an atmosphere where the staff can really come to them. They don't feel like, oh my gosh, I feel scared to talk to them about something. Because at the end of the day, if you collaborate, if you work well with your team, if your team likes you, you'll get way more done. And I forgot where I heard it, but it's basically saying, if you're liked or if people like you, you'll get more done than if you're qualified. So let's say you're a DNS, you might not have a master's or a PhD or whatever, or if you're administrator, you might not have like a doctorate or whatever. But if you're a good people person, if you know how to interact with your staff, if you get your staff to really like you, I mean, genuinely, no phony stuff, but genuinely, you'll get more done. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And please, guys, share this video with someone who you think it might help. Also, please click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. I post a new video every Sunday. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.